Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear me. Welcome to episode 2 of our MSPhD series presented by Women of BITS. Today, we have two amazing women, Aditi Chowdhury and Pooja Consul, and we are very excited to host them today. Before we start, I'd just like to thank the Student Alumni Relations Cell of BITS for giving us the platform to host our webinars. So let's start. First, let me introduce our speakers. Aditi Chaudhary has done a PhD and MS at CMU in language technologies and has had work experience at Microsoft and Google and Walmart and IISc. And Pooja Consul has done an MS in CS at the University of Pennsylvania and is a former research assistant at Wharton School. And she also has work experience at Amazon Robotics, American Express, and Indian Statistical Institute. It's really nice to have both of you here. It's an honor. Okay, so let's start with the questions. I think the most frequently asked question was, how do you get an admit in CMU or UPenn, and how do you make your profile stand out? So basically your college work, your application process, why you chose the college you did. So I think we can start with Pooja if you'd like to go first.
I would say a lot of factors go in while making your application stand out. When applying to colleges in US, especially colleges that are top 20 or top 10. First of all, if you're applying to a specific program, make sure that taken courses relevant to that program in your undergrad. So let's say if you're applying for computer science, and even if you're not a computer science major, make sure you've done courses in data structures and algorithms, operating systems, databases. Secondly, I would suggest that in order to stand out, make sure you have good enough projects, either research projects or projects done in internships, and make sure that you have some tangible result in that, something that you can show. Hey, I did this work and I was able to improve the efficiency of the algorithm by, say, 10%, 15%. Or I found a new technique to do character recognition for XYZ language, which has this much better performance than existing methods, things like that. And once you have those projects in your hand, make sure that people whom you worked under, you've made a really good impression on them, so that when you come back and ask them for LORs, they're happy to give you to them. So make sure all the projects you're doing have good outputs and you have good relations with people who you are working under. And lastly, I would suggest do things on your own, explore things on your own. So there are lots of hackathons, lots of competitions, lots of open source work. Make sure that you are contributing to one of them, whichever you like, in some way or another. That reflects that apart from your traditional coursework and traditional things like internships and projects that everyone usually does, you are putting in extra efforts, and there is a credible source to say that, yes, you are an exceptional person and so, and this is how you stand out.
Thank you. Anvitha, do you have anything to add to that, and what's your take on it?
Sure, thank you. So Pooja really summed it up very nicely. I have a couple of things to add on top of it. And so what I was saying is that do projects with good professors. They are really important, and you can add to your SOP what you did, what was your takeaways, and it's not project based in a college, but you can also choose good PS organizations. Like if you are more into research, then there are also micro organizations like IISc or Microsoft Research, where you can do your PS as well, and these can translate into a good nice research project. And the plus point is that a lot of these good organizations are recognized in the top universities, so it will really add value to your SOP.
Okay, thank you, Aditi. So The next question is, what does an MS in that field in CMU or UPenn look like? So what are the courses, the projects, the internships, etc.? So Aditi, you can go first. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thanks. So my master's is specifically in Masters in Language Technologies. This basically deals with AI for language, speech, or it's a very broad field. It includes natural language processing, some aspect of machine learning, and if I want to talk about the coursework, so here you mostly have courses which are relevant to this field. So an example course would be neural networks for natural language processing or intro to machine learning, but you won't find courses like compilers or data structures because it's already a specialized field. And one good thing about this particular master's program is that it also has like a 50% research component. So it kind of gives you a nice flavor of what research looks like. And if you like what you're doing, then you can very well translate it into a PhD program. If not, you can just like graduate and get a job in that field.
Okay, cool. Pooja, if you could just take on the same question.
Sure. So masters in UPenn can be catered to your specific needs. So there are a couple of different master's program. I'll just list them out depending on what are the popular ones. So there's a master's in computer science, which is a general master's in computer science, but you can take courses and specialize in a particular area in that. Then there's master's in robotics that's specific to robotics, and UPenn has really strong robotics research labs, so you can do that. And then there's masters in embedded systems, which is another area that UPenn is strong in. Systems and embedded technology. Again, you can either go into like take courses according to your specialization. So what do you want your application to be? Is it health? Is it industrial, etc.? And UPenn provides the option of taking a thesis or doing a co-op or internship. And then you always have the option to do an internship in the summer period itself. And there are a lot of teaching assistant and research assistant positions available at UPenn. And considering it's a huge school with a lot of different areas and different schools, you just don't need to confine yourself to the engineering domain. You can take up an RA or TA position in any field of interest that you want to apply your skills to. So say there's a huge medicine school. So if you're interested in health medicine, you can go there. There is a huge business school, Wharton. So if you're interested in the business aspects of things, you can apply your, you can take up courses and research positions over there. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, why did you choose higher studies as opposed to a corporate job? And also trade-offs between job experience and higher studies. So Pooja, you can go first.
Okay. So I would say having another degree in your resume is never a bad thing. It always helps. I'll answer this question specifically in terms of higher studies in USA. So when you look at US, especially in engineering domain, I feel like there are a huge number of opportunities that are available here, that things we are not even aware in India, specific specialization, specific fields, specific applications. And since US is mecca for all the talented people in the world, you get to interact with an international cohort that is both talented and motivated and has the same goals as you. So you are surrounded by people who would challenge you to make yourself better every day. And specifically for masters, if you think that you're interested in in a particular area, then it's always good to have a specialization in that field because it adds more value to yourself in terms of technical skills and makes yourself more marketable. And US, I would again say it's a personal thought, but the quality of work and the quality of life here, I would say, is much better if you compare while at our home country, because simply put, whatever research or innovation that's coming out of the big companies, it all gets born in US, right? So every big company has a headquarter in US, and I agree there are offices in India, but the kind of pace the kind of pace of work that is here is just phenomenal.
Okay, Aditi, would you like to take up the same question?
Sure, thanks. So for me, I had experience of a corporate, like in a big company. I worked for Microsoft for 2 years after my undergrad, after which I decided to pursue a research-based master's. So I had like a very good corporate job. It was fun. It was a perfect work-life balance. I had a lot of fun. But the only thing which was like lacking in my work after, let's say, 6, 7 months was it became mundane. I was doing the same thing almost every day. So it was not challenging enough, it was not innovative enough. And that's when I felt the need that maybe a higher degree and possibly research oriented would kind of fill that gap. And that's what motivated me to go for higher studies. And once you come for post graduation, be it any college, the kind of peer group that you hang out with, the kind of work that you see around you, it really makes you push harder yourself. You like learn a lot more than you would have learned if you had not done that. But like doing higher studies, it's very, very different from your undergrad experience. Like I felt that I'd like studied nothing in my undergrad, but like in your MS, it really, really forces you to think, and like from all aspects, not just like from the point of grades, because at least in my experience grades didn't matter at all. Like none of my professors asked me for, okay, what grade did you get in this course? They didn't care. They were just concerned about what kind of work I'm doing, whether I'm enjoying it, and how well I'm doing it. And so the importance to the work quality and also your health itself, it's really given importance, and that kind of reflects in the quality of output that you get. And apart from that, yeah, the quality of life is definitely much better there. But I think the main motivating factor was the challenges and the work quality that you get there. And also the access to resources and knowledge is immense there. There's like a lot of academic freedom. So it's world at your
Okay, so the next question is, this is asked by a lot of people. Why did you have to choose between an MS in Europe or US and Canada? Why did you choose US given, is it still a good option given the visa restrictions? Aditi, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So during my master's applications, I had considered Canada as another potential country. So US is of course still the number one in like some of the fields, but Europe and Canada are also not far behind. Like actually, AI was born in Canada, so you have this very nice and very popular institute called Mila. It's based in Montreal. So I think that it's typically also depends on what your life goals are, where you want to be in the next 5 years, or what kind of field you want to expertise in. And according to that, you should choose the college and the country. And of course, personal preferences also matter. But considering visa restrictions, I think given the current uncertainty, it's like very difficult to answer what the scenario will be after 1 year or even 2 years, given the current situations. But despite this uncertainty, having a MS degree from any recognized college, especially from US or Canada, is going to be recognized worldwide. So if you get that, you don't need to worry about job prospects across the world.
Do you like to add anything?
So I specifically wanted to do an MS in US. Um, as I mentioned before, simply the amount of opportunities available and the kind of areas and exposure that there is.
Okay, so we will take some questions from the audience. So someone has asked, what is the apt time for masters after work experience or immediately after undergrad? I feel like we've touched upon this, but if either of you would like to go.
So it totally depends on like what you want to explore. Like for me, after my undergrad, I really was not sure whether I want to go for an MS. I had got a good job opportunity and I wanted to explore it first to see where it leads. And after about a year into the job, I felt that okay, I need to get some higher degree. At that point, I was not sure whether I want to go for a PhD, but I definitely wanted to go for a master's. But I had like a lot of friends who were like pretty sure in the third year that they wanted to go for a master's, so they applied right away. So it totally depends on what you want and how ready you are in terms of exploration, whether your ideas and goals are fixed. So there's like no perfect answer. But one thing is that you should definitely not delay it more than 2 to 3 years after your undergrad, because it gets difficult to go back into the study environment when you're in a job. And especially any MS program in US is pretty challenging. So I would just like maybe keep your benchmark up to 3 years, but definitely not exceeding it.
Okay. The next audience question is, are there any funding master? Could you hear me? I'm not sure.
That one. So funding opportunities totally depend on the school that you're applying to. So I'll kind of give you an overview of what kind of funding opportunities are available. So schools like UPenn don't have a specific scholarship for master students, but they do provide a lot of TA and RA positions that kind of fulfills your living expense checkbox. There are other schools that provide TA and RA opportunities, but that also allows you to pay your tuition fees with that. So it's a substitute for your tuition. And there are programs which are more research focused that will provide you a good enough stipend that again covers part of your living expense and some part of tuition fee. And then some universities do have scholarships specific to students of either their universities or other universities while you're applying. So you can also look out for that. Apart from that, there are a lot of organizations that provide student loans if you are looking into that. So there are organizations like KC Mahindra scholarships, Aga Khan scholarships, and even BITS has a Bhushan Bhadia scholarship. So that would either provide you an interest-free loan or provide you some kind of scholarship in the hopes that you'd contribute it later once you get settled in life.
Okay, thanks. Aditi, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, just one small addition is that at least some of the research-based programs, like the one I did, and also one of the other programs that I know of is, I think, MS in Berkeley. So both of them, since they are very heavily research focused, so if there is funding available in the department, then typically they fund you entirely, like your scholarship, your tuition, and also stipend. But that entirely depends on whether there is funding available at that time with that professor. But typically, most research programs offer at least partial funding. But it totally, as in, I don't want to create a false hope that every research program would have it, because it totally depends on the professor with whom you're going to work with.
Okay, thanks. So the next question is for Aditi. So what is your PhD work like, and how did you select a professor for a PhD? Just your experience.
Okay, sure. So my PhD is basically it's an extension of my master's program. So my master's program is called Masters in Language Technologies. It's essentially like the first 2 years of a PhD program. So people typically who are confused whether they want to go with a PhD or not apply to this program. And if in the 2 years, if you like what you're doing and you like the professor, then you can continue with your PhD, or you can just like finish your MLT and then go back to your industry. But typically, how you select a professor is that ideally you first work with them, like you do a semester long project, which gives you an idea whether you and the professor's work ethics match, or your interests match. That gives you a flavor. If it's not possible for you to work with them, the next possible option is that you heavily do some homework, like you read up their research work, what they're doing, you try to send them emails and schedule video calls. Professors typically are open to doing this if you have done sufficient homework, like they don't just answer any email. But if you have done enough homework, you can mention in the email that, okay, I read so and so paper, I really like your work, and I'm interested in XYZ, can we have a quick conversation? And you can have video chats and like talk about what your research interests are, how do you think whether your working style would match or not. You kind of get an idea. It's kind of what in PhD world it's called a marriage process. So basically you talk with a lot of professors, you have like if possible you also do internships with them even remotely, because now remote work is possible. So people often like do collaborations, like since you're already in undergrad college, you can like send them an email, establish collaborations, and typically that's how you select a professor. Oh, and one more thing, you talk to their previous students for sure, because they give you the real picture of what the professor is like.
Okay, thanks. So, Pooja, someone has asked, considering the number of sub-branches in CS for masters, how do I choose which one to pursue, or rather, how do I go about exploring these options?
It's a good question, and I feel like every CS undergrad has that dilemma. The one thing I would suggest is try to explore as much as you can while you're at undergrad. BITS provides you a lot of different opportunities to do that. There are CT classes, there are specific clubs and groups that will work on specific areas and domains. Say, working on drones, working on embedded systems, working on, say, developing an OS, things like that. So try to attend as many things as you can. And once you get your hands dirty for a couple of weeks or couple of months, you kind of get a sense of whether you like that stuff or not. Another thing is, if you can't find the things that you like on campus, there are abundance of online resources. There are online courses, online course websites like Coursera, Udemy. Go there, explore all the topics, find out what you like, try to do a couple of projects, try out some nano degrees and see if it interests you. BITS also has a number of emails being forwarded to your inbox about different competitions, different talks, different seminars. Go there, attend them, listen to people, what kind of work they're doing, and then follow up with them, ask them what their day-to-day life looks like, and reach out to people on LinkedIn. Just message them, hey, I'm interested in this field and I would like to know more about your work. What does your day-to-day look like? What kind of skills do you need for this? How do you develop them? And while attending seminars and talks, make sure that you are trying to absorb whatever you're being told, and I guess following up on whatever interests you have. And then a good way is always to have a good group of friends around you in college who are actively trying to do new things. That kind of also pushes you and challenges you to explore new things and new fields.
Okay, thank you. Aditi, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, nothing specific, but yeah, like try to attend as many talks as possible, because you kind of get to know what is out there, what are the recent developments, what are the new areas, and if possible, try to talk with the speakers, because they can give you a frank idea of what is really happening, and you can like talk to them specifically what the research opportunity or what an industry opportunity looks like. and that kind of really gives you options to think about. And also your homework, of course, matters a lot.
I think an extension to this question is like Aditi, how different is MS in language technologies from MS in CS, and what opportunities does it present compared to it, and what's the difference in the application process, if any?
Right, that's a very good question. So, from an application point of view, there is not really much difference because in an MS applicant, the professors typically don't expect that they have a lot of prior experience in terms of research or any particular area. They're just open to different fields. So one thing is, if you have any NLP experience, like natural language processing projects, or maybe not just NLP, but any AI experience, and for specifically tailored to MS in language technologies, you can highlight that aspect more in your SOP. Like if you have a particular project, then you can highlight it more as compared to a general MS and CS application. But apart from structuring the SOP, I don't really see a lot of difference. And regarding your second question, like what kind of opportunities it creates, so it doesn't, if you are going into an industry, it really doesn't make a lot of difference, because once you enter with an MS program in a school, there's a lot of freedom on what you can do when you're in the school. So even if you are an MS and CS student, you can take up courses or research projects in a different department and still it will be fine. So from an industry, if your end goal is like you want to go in an industry, it is, the difference is not that big. But of course, if you're sure that you want to work in NLP fields and AI field, then having a degree in that particular field, of course, is going to add more value, because you don't have to waste time doing courses which you're not going to really use in your further work.
Okay, thanks. So the next question is an MS worth the investment financially, and how did you afford the expense of studying abroad? Pooja, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's a one-time expense, but the ROI is amazing. If you are in US, most of the jobs you take up, you would be able to fill up the deficit of whatever you paid for MS in a single year or two. So it's the ROI is definitely worth it. Yeah.
Okay, Aditi, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Pooja summed it all for me.
Okay, so the next question is, the H-1B visa is becoming more and more competitive by the day. So do you have a backup plan?
So I would say like things are not very clear right now. US is in the middle of presidential elections, and both parties have different views on how they perceive specialized workers and immigrants. And the current rule has minimized the number of H-1Bs that would be given to Indians, but the Democratic Party has different ideas about that. So it all depends on who's gonna win, who's not gonna win. But yeah, in any case, I would say that since you are from a good school and you'll probably join MS in a good school and get get a job in an industry that your MS program gives you a background for, there's not really much to worry about. You will be in a salary bracket which is well above the threshold, and you will have the correct background for your jobs and skills. And in case that doesn't work out, all major tech companies have headquarters all over the world. So if you get a job in, say, Amazon, there are offices all over the world. They'll take care of you. So you can always go to an office in Berlin. You can go to an office in Amsterdam, Netherlands, wherever you want to go. And not just that, there are a lot of different countries as well, like Canada, Japan, Europe, Australia, that are very open to people who have strong technical background and that are young. So they are especially luring people who are young techies into their country to boost their technical growth and economy and GDP. So there'll always be options.
Okay. Aditi, anything you'd like to add?
No, that's pretty much it. If you are from a decent school, you don't really need to worry because you'll already be in a higher bracket. And the company, or even if you're an F1 student, then the university really takes care of you. Like they really value international applicants and students, so you should be fine. Like because a degree from US or a good university from Canada is recognized worldwide, so you shouldn't face any trouble later on in the life.
Okay, so actually the next question, which was from the audience, kind of asked the same thing. They say, in India, there's a quantum jump in opportunities from a top rank college to a lower tier college. So is that the same case abroad as well? Specifically with respect to job opportunities in the IT sphere, do college rankings matter in the US, or are job openings more or less the same?
So I would just like to give you guys a brief idea of how jobs specifically in, say, software or CS field work in US. So it's not the same as India. Companies want come and take tests on campus and then select a bunch of people and have certain quotas for people from a certain college. It's not like that in US. So how it works is US schools usually have career fairs. So career fairs is a medium of interaction between companies and students in person. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it's all virtual. But typically, what will happen is companies would come to your school, they'll put on booths, and they'll have representatives which are people in different departments of the company, different roles that they have. So people specific to those roles. And
खुला है.
I guess so. You'll get a chance to talk to, say, if you're applying for a software engineer job and you're at a booth for Microsoft. So you'll get a chance to talk to that software engineer. Hey, what does your day-to-day look like? What kind of teams are there in Microsoft? And what do I make to myself to make my resume stand out? What's the application process like? Connect with you later on, follow up with them. So that's how it usually goes. And then some companies can choose to screen students on campus and hold interviews. That's totally up to them. But usually you'll submit your resume, and if you like them, if the company likes you, then they'll contact you separately and move forward with the application process. And not all companies come to career fairs, so it's all based on you. So you got to go out there and apply online to different companies that you're interested in. So each company has their career page, job page. Go out there, find out jobs that interest you and apply online. And then another way that job search works in US is using your network and taking referrals from people you know. So if you know seniors, if you know people who are working in a certain company, reach out to them, say, hey, I'm interested in this area. What teams are there in your company that would be suitable for my background? And then they'll tell you, okay, these are the fields and maybe I can refer you. So you, get a step ahead of other people while interviewing. So that will only at best land you an interview. It's up to you to, do well in the interview and go through the next rounds. So that being said, yes, college career fair help a lot because it allows you to talk to a company representative, and it's like you skip one level of screening if they certainly like you. So a lot of good schools attract a lot of companies, a lot of good companies, and a lot of startups, medium-sized companies, all kind of companies. But even if you don't have the opportunity for that, you can always go out there and apply online. If you have the correct skills and backgrounds, companies will reach out to you.
Okay, thank you. So the next question is, what are the differences between a research-oriented and a corporate career? Because I know you've been a research assistant at Wharton. So what's your take?
So what's the difference between research and industry experience? Is that the question?
I think like a research-oriented career and a corporate career.
I see. So there are two things. You can either choose to be in a completely corporate environment where you have certain projects that you have to complete, certain features that you want to deliver, and there's a high level vision of the company that you're working towards. For research oriented career, you can either go purely into academic area, do a PhD, postdoc, and get into the academic field, or you can choose to do research work in a company and move forward their R&D process forward. So it totally depends on what specifically interests you and what are your goals and what makes you happy.
Okay, Aditi, would you like to add anything?
Sure. So one thing is that now there is not a lot of different. Like you cannot distinguish between a research career versus a corporate career, because a lot of the companies have a specific research wing as well. So you can still enjoy corporate life and benefits, but still do pure research work. Sometimes, like some companies like Google Research or Microsoft Research, they are specifically catered towards doing research. That is, their work is not super targeted towards improving specific products. It's purely research. Like your output are publications and patents, but like even in corporate companies which don't have research wings, you can also mix and match both. Like you if you read some paper, you like the approach, you want to see, okay, maybe this particular approach can help me really in this product or solving this particular problem. So you can combine both research and corporate life in a very nice way. And of course, academic life is a completely different line where it gives you a lot of academic freedom. And even there, even in academic life, you'll find a lot of professors have like joint affiliations. So they also teach in the they're also like a faculty position in the department, but they're also like an adjunct faculty consultant in one of the companies. So now you can really bridge both of them together in any way that you want. So it's very flexible.
Okay. So the next question is, what's the career path a few years down the line? Because we've seen that a lot of people want to know what life is after MS and PhD.
Okay, sure. So again, it totally depends on what you want to do. Like I have a lot of friends who have done a PhD and they're now working in the R&D wings of a company. So they're completely aloof from the academic institutions, but they're totally working in a corporate organizations. But there are several people who are, like as I mentioned, in a joint position where they also are involved in academic research, but they're also involved as a consultant to different corporate companies, because companies really value research and they specifically value PhDs, because a PhD is a specialist or a go-to person for a particular niche field. So um, like life after MS or PhD like can go either way that you want. If you are like sick of research after a PhD, that might happen. So you can like completely choose to be in a corporate world, but if you want to have a balance of both work life and like work life balance plus some research, because pure academic life can become stressful, at least in US, because you have to apply for 10 years and everything. So a lot of people tend to combine some amount of industrial base into their academic life as well.
Okay, Pooja, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I guess Aditi pretty much summed it up well.
Okay, so the next question is it's an audience Q&A question. If one already has an offer from a company like Google for a software role, does an MS in CS add any value, given that I would eventually settle in India?
My question to that person is, why do you want to do an MS in CS in that case?
Yeah. um, Okay. The next question is actually something that was asked quite a bit. For non-CS students, how should they go about applying for to colleges for masters? Any special points to focus on, Pooja?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. For non-CS students, how should they go about applying to colleges for masters? Any special points to focus on?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, for people who have non-CS backgrounds, there are two things. Either you can apply to MSCS programs. So, in order to do that, you need to build your background catering to that specific program. So, take up CS courses in your undergrad, like as I mentioned, data structures and algorithms, analysis of algorithms, databases, operating systems, and do projects that are relevant for CS fields. And if you have an industry experience to back up your application, that's a plus plus. And another good thing is to have LORs from professors who are CS professors at your college and who can vouch for your CS skills. That's another way. And then again, I would suggest whatever field that you are interested in, try to get out there and contribute to things, participate in things to, give an overall sense to the university that, you know about this field and you've done work and you have credibility for the work that you've done. And the next thing is, if you haven't done that already, you can also consider doing programs that cater specifically to people who have a non-CS background. So you can, there's a master's in computer science, and then there's a master's in computer science and information technology. And even a lot of other schools have this kind of distinction that cater to people who have a CS background and people who don't have a CS background. So programs that do not require CS backgrounds are typically called professional masters that will build skills that would specifically help you get positions in the industry if you don't have a CS background.
Okay, thanks. And I think someone has also asked, is there a difference in the opportunities that you get after graduating from non-CS background masters?
So like I said, in US, they focus more on the kind of experience that you have. So you might not have a CS background, you might be a triple E major, but you've worked in a core computer science company, like say core computer science or software focused company, like say Microsoft. So you have worked on fields that are relevant to CS. So the projects and the kind of experience that you have would be kind of similar to a person who has a CS background. And again, once you apply to jobs, the job case that I mentioned before, it's up to you how much you can impress a recruiter with the kind of background that you have. So it depends on you. The degree doesn't really matter that much if you've done relevant courses. But again, it shouldn't be like that you're doing a MS in mechanical and then you feel like you want to apply for software job. That becomes a far-fetched goal because then again, certain companies would have requirements that okay, in order to apply for this job you need to have these at least this is the minimum criteria for of the degrees that you must have done. So since you're applying for MS, try to narrow down a lot more than you've done in undergrad, and then move forward.
Okay, thank you. Aditi, is there anything you'd like to add?
Oh, no, nothing particular.
Okay, so the next question is, what is your opinion on the deferred admit scenario leading to more competition for seats in fall 2021? Aditi?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's like it's a very new thing that has happened this time. So I think each university is different, so I cannot comment for all universities out there. But typically, it every year the competition is anyways higher than the previous batch because every year the threshold is at a much higher anyways. But I don't foresee them increasing the seats more, because typically schools also have to take into account the teacher to student ratio. Then they also have funding for PhD programs or even some master's programs. So it will be competitive, but given that there are deferred admits, I don't see that a lot of it would spill over onto the new batch. So, irrespective of the, I don't think it should that should be a factor deterring you from applying for an MS program, because that is something that's totally not in your hands. So, and each school has a different policy, and it changes, and of course, they don't reveal their policies with students every time. So, I don't think that should stop you from applying if you're really interested in doing an MS or a PhD.
Okay, Pooja, anything you'd like to say?
I would like to add to that given the current situation, we don't know when things would open up, and a lot of universities are not in person. So if you really, really want to do an MS and settling in US is not one of your criterias, then maybe you can consider online masters as well.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, do you have any plans to return to India, Pooja?
Coming back this December.
Okay, Aditi?
You mean like from a permanent point of view, or like from a short-term point of view?
I mean, what's your plan? Do you plan to come back or just
So I do plan to come back. Yeah, I do plan to come back. Yeah.
It's more temporary.
So we have a few audience questions. Someone's asking, is there any particular field in CS that you need to be proficient with before applying for an MS like ML? I'm a third year dualite and I don't have prior knowledge in ML, so is it too late to start now?
I can actually take up this one. So actually, you're never too late, because for me, I actually didn't have any ML experience apart from a very simple elective course that I took. I actually got exposed to NLP in my work experience, and so it's never too late. That is for sure. And even if you're not in an ML field or in maybe another niche field, it's totally fine, because the point of MS is for you to explore these fields, and then you can narrow down another of these fields for maybe PhD or industry. But it helps, I would say, it if you have some project experience, which probably you would have after your 4 years of undergrad or even PS. So that can help you shape your SOP and initial ideas, but you need not limit to that idea when you apply for an MS.
Okay, thanks. Pooja?
I would say that if you want to do an MS in ML, then there's always time for you to add on things to your SOP and resume by doing courses, by doing projects, by contributing individually to different resources, and not having a specialization is not an issue, but it certainly helps if you do, because it kind of guides yourself as well as to what you want to do. Yeah, maybe that's subject to change. You should never restrict yourself to a particular field, but your temporary vision, your short-term goal of doing an MS must be guided by certain factors, right? That I want to become proficient in this particular area, and I am very much interested in pursuing these kind of jobs, these kind of work. So that certainly helps if you can figure out and have background. So that gives you a sense of what kind of applications are there for that field, and explore that further in your masters. So kind of narrow down your area of exploration.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, can you give examples of specialized programs for masters that have really surprised you or awed you? Pooja, you can go first.
So really specialized programs.
Yeah, something that surprised you or awed you, if there is something like that.
So a lot of different universities have strengths in different domains. So a lot of times they will have specialized programs in that particular domain. So let's say take, for instance, data visualization. If you're like really into data visualization, there are certain universities that have MS programs specifically catering to data visualization. If you are interested in the business aspects of data science, then there are universities that have programs specifically catering to business analytics, business intelligence, and things like that. So is that kind of the answer that you're looking for, or is there something else that you want to know?
I'm not sure if someone asked it on the chat, so I think that answers it. If Aditi, you would like to add something?
No, nothing in particular. It's like, as Pooja mentioned, it totally depends on the department. And there are like so many programs out there that you can't even think of. And like, it totally depends on your interest. I've seen programs from like being very specific to like particular field to being very broad as well. So it totally depends on the school. And you should, one thing is that you should really read up the description of the particular MS program that you're applying to, and also talk to students from that particular program, because that really tells you what practically the program does for you.
Okay, we're kind of running out of time, but we'll take like two more questions. This one is specific to Aditi. So someone has asked, since your work at Microsoft is related to NLP, after which you went for MLT, if someone wants to go for it, should we go for an RA-ship after undergrad or go looking for jobs at MS?
So if your aim is to go for a research-based program, like especially in MLT, then having a research experience like an RA-ship would definitely be more beneficial. But again, it's not necessary that you have an RA-ship. Even in an industry like Microsoft, like I was able to get access to research projects, which kind of helped me in my application. So you can always find, like especially in top tier organizations, they really encourage research even if it's not part of your daily work. So like my manager and team were very accommodated that they allowed me to do such kind of my own work. But definitely if you have access to an RA-ship, then it's going to help you more.
Okay, thanks. And Pooja, there is a question for you. So someone has asked, can you share your work experience at Amazon Robotics and Grasp Labs? If you had a chance of working at Grasp Labs, how did the pandemic affect career fair opportunities for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the pandemic has definitely had its impact on the career fair. So the number of openings have certainly reduced, and certain companies haven't opened their positions for full-time people. So yeah, but I feel like that should go away soon enough. That is like a temporary effect. My work at Amazon again was a mix of both ML and software development work, which is particularly interesting and which I was actually vying for. So I had to develop certain tools in order to help this research scientists that were on my team. So I had to interact with both the research scientists and the developers on my team in order to do my work. So that was kind of interesting. And I haven't worked at Grass Labs as such, but I did take a course which is called Learning in Robotics, which is kind of a very intensive course giving you a overview of the basics in robotics and applying things like reinforcement learning and machine learning in robotics. So that's kind of really interesting thing out there in UPenn.
Okay, thank you. I think we've taken most of the audience questions. We've unfortunately run out of time. So if anyone has any more questions that they'd really like to ask, then you can reach both of them on LinkedIn. Someone will put up their LinkedIn links on the chat. But yeah, thanks for doing this talk with us, Aditi and Pooja. It was really informative. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you for having us and like allowing us to like present our experience and share our like work experience and everything. One thing which I want to like kind of also advertise is that CMU, especially the Language Technologies Department, is doing a unique thing this year. Is that they're going to host interns, like for people from undergrad colleges, the people who are really interested in like trying out the flavor of pizza, they should like really apply for these internships. Second resource which I want to share is that a lot of the top tier colleges they offer mentorship on your SOP applications. So you should like check them out because what it really does is that you can write your SOP like first or second draft. You can apply for the mentorship program, and typically a PhD student would help you out like point out some major mistakes. Okay, you should structure a SOP so and so, and that I think would be kind of like a game changer for people who are new to writing SOPs.
Thanks. Yeah, Pooja, any ending notes?
Thank you for having me, and it was really great interacting with you guys. And I hope you took away some good points from this experience. And feel free to reach out and with any questions you have. And yeah, good luck with your applications.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good luck, guys.